Hi, Warren Whitlock here with another emerging technology podcast. Hey, today I've been thinking a lot about computer vision or mechanical vision, artificial intelligence, looking with letting your computer get smart and be a robot and have all those eyes. And what do they all have in common? I think computer vision is probably the most current word for it. And let's just start there and talk about where it is and why this is important to you, what in your everyday life. This is not a show about the future. Today, we're going to talk about the present, maybe even a little bit about the past. Because I remember when I first started seeing electric eyes, which was very primitive for a computer, but there was a light sensitive chip of some sort, and certainly later chips and the microprocessors were involved with that. But just to get a garage door to go up, you need some kind of a sensor. And it's not really too much different than it is today. And that got me thinking about my experience with automatic doors of all sorts and what they used to be like and what they can do now. Actually got stuck in an automatic opening door at the grand opening of a store when I was a kid. And fortunately, no damage. I ruined the shirt I had on, but because some kind of hydraulic fluid was coming out of it, they fixed the malfunction and everybody else was able to use the door just fine. But always intrigued me. I still, every time I walk through a automatic opening door, I think about that. We've seen the shows of the future, the movies tell us about times when more things will be automatic like that. That no matter what, I always look at it and I remember, hey, I was a kid stuck behind one of them doors as it opened up, and they didn't design them near as nice as they do today. The first thing that computer vision really got to us was, fast forward a while, is image recognition. And we can see what something is, or we can make out something. And then we went through a whole lot of time when we thought we were getting pretty good at it, but it didn't really work that well. And can you identify a cat? How come a 2-year-old can identify a cat in a picture, tell the difference between a cat and a dog, but a computer can't? Now they can, and now they can draw those things. And the way that AI is able to do a lot of the image generation today is because of the data we fed it. We're just getting started on what I think this AI is going to be capable of doing. So let's take a look at some of the ways that that it has changed what we're doing and is working right now. For instance, we've talked about this in a former show about the healthcare. You couldn't get the healthcare you get today without the ability of the computer to be able to read an image. That's such a great thing, and I think about what it was like to type something into a computer and what a new and wonderful thing that was, because we'd had the oh, sheesh, I can't remember what they were called. I almost said barcode. The punch cards and the tapes that used to be used to feed into computers. And by comparison, the just ability to type something and have it processed and the correct character identified it seemed a miracle when that first came out. And that's not that long ago. That was 40, 50 years ago, maybe 60, when they really started having some terminals. When the microprocessor came out, that all became possible. And now we're looking at some really cool things. We can scan an X-ray. I think I told you all before when we talked about healthcare, I've had some exams that just blow me away that the machines can take a little sample of me and figure out what's going on. I just got told I have a good heart. My wife said she knew that already, but that was a cheap grab at a compliment from the wife. But yes, and all sorts of things are being scanned and prodded. And I went to get the results of those tests. I met with the cardiologist when he told me I have a good heart. And I remember waiting for him and thinking, someday I'm going to walk into an office and it's not going to be good news. This was good news. But I got thinking about all the things they can do, and it still requires, in this day and age, me traveling to see a doctor who I first saw 4 months ago, and today, recently, he was able to tell me that he didn't find anything. Yeah, I had dumb questions and made it a whole visit of 5 minutes, but isn't it great to know that as things better and better, it improves life for billions of people? Another thing I'm stuck on today is thinking about how much better life is since I've been alive. Last 100 years, last 20 years, last year, the things that have changed, the accelerating good that's going on. It's sad to see a lot of people wondering about the future. I'm here to tell you, we're just getting started on this. And every time you see something that is questionable about how fast things are changing, let's talk about the AI again. Oh boy, it's changing too fast. What are we going to do? The counter example is that every time we invent something, it helps a whole lot of people who aren't you and me. If you have the means to be listening to this podcast, whether that's in the first world or wherever you wind up being yourself today, the fact that you can listen to this is just a miracle compared to what we were able to do in the past. And so much more, so much ability to feed people and do things straight. That feeding people is a lot about the second one I wanted to talk about, retail, because that just like that door in the store, that's a really old school example, but the sensors and being able to tell where something is. You may have heard about Amazon having stores without any checker, and the usual story, I went out and checked on some because there are problems with Amazon having a store without any cashiers. And I've tried using such stores twice. In both cases, I couldn't find the credit card that was required to get in. As in the airport, my wallet was packed away post security. And so I wouldn't be sitting on it for a couple of hours. Tried to get in and couldn't get the credit card. That was my problem. That's first world problem. The problem that they like to talk about is that some people won't be able to go in the store. And that's a real problem to me, that some people have cash, they don't have the credit card. I want to buy everything with my phone. There's still people that don't have any kind of credit or debit card, and that's here in the first world. In other places, they don't have the stores at all. We complain about the wrong thing. But the automated checkout system in the test, it's an extension of what Amazon's doing to retail in general. And I'm sure somewhere listening here, you have a detractor, feel free to tell us all your point of view in the comments, because I like to look at the things that could be negative, and because we need to fix those things. It's iterating, it's going to get better. But the concept, let's get back to the big concept. The difference is that when you have a computer that is able to, or an AI, a system, the vision to be able to see the whole store, see where everybody is, see the patterns that get walked, the things that a good manager often wishes they could do. I worked with a retail chain once as an advertising salesman, and I got in there and I was told, you don't know about drugstores. You're not in here. I got 5 kids. I buy a lot in your store. And sure enough, we went in there, we had to find the coupons and get the right things to take all the kids. It was a whole journey back in the day. But we got talking about what it is he really wants to do when he's not trying to make sure that the inventory has arrived and is on the shelves, and dealing with the various vendors and scheduling all the employees and everything else. This was back in the days of paper. This man worked very hard, very long hours to try to keep his store running. Today, I look at what's possible. It's the things he wanted to do that he knew would help to keep track of the lives of his customers and how he could help them best, because he did not know that I was someone that was in his store on a regular basis, that I also was a heavy shopper, because I would go in, he would not see me. I would be with the kids. We'd be buying a lot of diaper. a lot of other things that we just needed around the house for a growing family. And where he had told me that he thought a drugstore was older people. And I wasn't old then, and I don't feel old now. But what he wanted to be able to do was have some insight into what the customer were doing and what they wanted. The me in there with my bunch of kids, and we were clipping some coupons and having some fun learning about how things were sold and in the way. And I got thinking, hey, I'm checking out with 2 shopping carts. I must be important. No, what they wanted to do was get the people who had to come in a couple of times a week and needed something, and it was important for them to get whatever that was. They didn't have the means to drive to any store they wanted. And he said, yeah, you're in the way. You're not helping. Thanks for your business, but you're not my best customer. And not long term, because I only was there for months, not years. And so he wasn't able to help them. And when somebody goes to the store, you can shake their hand, say hello, get to know them by name. All that's been possible because of technology. But we're talking about where it actually helps somebody do their job better, not eliminate a job. Sure, the automatic cashier, boy, I love that. I love being able to go to a store when I don't feel like talking. Yes, that happens. And grab whatever I need, go to a machine, scan it, and put it in a bag and leave and not have to talk to anybody about anything. I feel like I should try to be nice when I'm talking to a human being doing the cashiering. So that's been my experience. Sometimes it's about efficiency, and sometimes it's just, I just don't want to be bothered being sociable at that point. And aren't those nice? If I could walk into a store when I feel like that and just grab what I need, it'd be fine. I do that somewhat in my life. I'm able to shop on Amazon for almost everything I need. I'm able to make a grocery order from a grocery store and get my Amazon order, buy some things in bulk with a big bulk store, and have them all delivered right to my port. I'd like to have them delivered and brought into the house. That's employing somebody to do something, but that's the menial part. If we can get robots to take care of that, I'd like to go have a conversation, either go someplace or have that conversation with somebody online who is helping me spend my money better and get the best deal and tell me about something I didn't know about. What are the new items? What's helping? This is the things that are going to be available as we install these things. And in fact, in marketing, we learn that everything you get to know about your customer and how to serve them better can make a difference in your ability to keep that customer happy, which means you get to keep the customer, means you make money long term. Money is not made by being able to grab some cash for the things you have in inventory. To really do well, you want that to be as automated as possible and somebody willing to give you their money because they're happy you provided something extra to them. And we've talked about this in healthcare where the doctors can, if they have the images read by AI, they're able to spend more time with the patient. And that leads to better outcomes. There's many studies that show that. The other thing you can do is find exactly what it is you're looking for. And this one really got me thinking. We're able to go into a store, and if somebody's there to help us, they'll tell us right where to go. We can pick it up, we can get it, and we can leave. If we need to learn more about it, that might be a place to learn about it. Or would we rather do that at home? I'm glad I have the choice. Sometimes I like to be able to go to a store and hang out and talk to people and learn something. And I go to many events, live here in Las Vegas, where there's always a trade show, there's always something going on. And I go out of my way to go to those, it might not be something that currently helping my business. Just to experience that. The same to go walk through one of the large casinos on occasion, at least for the first 20 years I lived here, to go to these places that I haven't been before, to walk around and see maybe a little people watching, maybe there's an art gallery, maybe there's a couple of interesting stores, or just to take in the ambiance of that and without even worrying about the shows and the gambling and the other attractions that could have got you there. There's some interesting things to do. So you want to be out and about. But I think I'd rather be out and about on my terms rather than having to fulfill a list, run around, fill a cart, and check out. Sometimes I want to do that. Sometimes I don't. So we're going to have more helps to see that we get what we want, when we want it, and have our needs satisfied. Would you like to know more about this item? Yeah, here's a screen that tells you about it, or here is person to tell you about it. You're lost looking for something? A voice from a nearby shelf could say, instead of just saying, "Hey, buy me, I'm on sale," we say, "You look a little bit lost. Would you like some help picking out the correct cough syrup?" And patient and have the time to do that because they're not harried stocking the shelves and checking people out. That I think enhancing the experience is what it's all about. So often we get into a conversation about whether or not somebody's going to have a job. And people used to have a lot more jobs as farmers, and those jobs went away mostly because we found better ways to make a farmer more productive. Now the people that are experts at farming are, whoa, some smart people are using a whole lot of technology, farming a lot of land, getting a lot done. And this is even when it's a family farm, able to do a lot more. When you're able to walk someplace and do whatever you could do, now you could take a car, you can go a lot farther. And that's the way we need to look at these tools. That's just in some of the things I was thinking about in retail. Got a couple more for you while we're here. Let me see if I can find my list. Here's one we haven't talked much about on this program, but intrigues me every day. Autonomous vehicles. I take a lot of Ubers, and when I do, it's wonderful. It's very hot here, 40 Celsius and up, and in 115 Fahrenheit. And there's days when walking outside you get tired out just going outside. And so I do a lot of staying home this time of year, but I like to go to places. When I do, the strip is just far enough away that my car won't get cool by the time I get there. I take an Uber. I'm able to have a nice conversation with somebody, meet a new person, and ask them, what do you think about self-driving cars? Some of them are saying, okay, I'll find something to do. And quite a few of them are not sure that's going to come anytime soon, or they're only thinking about what they need to do this year. And that's okay. And then occasionally somebody says, yeah, I'd love to be able to find something to do other than driving the car. They all love it though. Here in this particular market, my Uber driver, maybe one in the years I've been taking Uber, never told me that he didn't like the job and the flexibility of being able to do that. Because you can drive for a while when you get tired of driving or the family needs something or you want to, you just don't think it's making you enough money per hour, you can stop, come back at a different time and take a nap, go out late at night when the city is bustling here and do that. It's uh, an interesting profession, and I love talking to these guys, and because they are all quite entrepreneurial, out to take care of themselves. But what happens when the cars take over? One, it's a heck of a lot safer, and this is all possible because of the cameras that are pointed out, looking at everything. There's a couple of ways to look at it. Some use LiDAR and radar. They all use maps, and they get more powerful all the time. But cameras are very important for that because there are things that can be seen and recognized and hopefully match the database and not be too weird. Right now, I think the last stat I saw was that Tesla is about twice as safe to drive, just driving one. And then I'm not really sure what that comes from, but about 200,000 miles on a US road that a car would get in an accident. And then it goes to 450,000 miles for a Tesla. And then you turn on auto driving and it goes to millions of miles without an accident. as I've said before, we need to look at the positive thing and what we can do with that. I think the world's changing fast. We've got to decide how to live with that. So I talked to actually it was in a Tesla, but it was my Uber driver about this, and especially the ones that are driving Teslas, just say, yeah, sure, the self-driving is all coming. And when the robo-taxi takes over, I mean, all of a sudden, the humans can go ahead and do something more. The time that you spend paying attention and driving can be focused on something else and hopefully of economic worth of at least as much. And yes, we've got to go through some pain to get there. But man, do I love the idea of self-driving. Think about getting to an intersection and your car sees the other cars, or I say your car, it may not be yours because there may be a lot more of us taking these robo-taxi or self-driving cars or letting our car be used someplace else. You get to an intersection and there are another 50 cars at the intersection and they all get together and negotiate. And if they're going 40 miles per hour, they can decide, I'm going to go 38 and you go 41 and we won't run into each other. And in my vision, when I'm sitting there, so the things you can do when you're sitting in the back seat, uh, I look and I say that most of the time at the intersection is spent with very few or no cars in the intersection as the lights change. When we're able to leave the lights all green and let the cars go through, they'll negotiate a lot better. And the person riding in the car won't notice that you're going 1 or 2 miles per hour different. And I haven't worked out the math on this. I'm leaving that for somebody else, but I think that's going to happen. I don't think we'll have less traffic as much as we will have the start and stop can go away, more efficient, better for energy resources and things like that. And then, of course, there's a question of whether or not you need to take some of those trips. But which brings me to the next wonderful thing about it is that we'll be able to get in, we'll be able to get out of the car, leave it in the driveway. I do this today. I don't own a new car. I have a car I drive around. I work from home. Don't need to go very far. When I do, I rent a car or take an Uber. And I like a nice new car, but wouldn't use it most of the time. When I think that 99% of that car's life would be spent sitting in my driveway, and that's not a good return on investment. What if I could just put that car in taxi mode or tell it what hours I need it or lend it to the system? And if it's out on the far side of town, taking somebody someplace, another one subs in and comes and gets me, and all those settings will be possible. And that's all possible because of the sensors, starting with the vision. So I know we've gone all over the place, but my one path through this is that I'm just keep thinking about what is it that we're going to be able to do that we're not able to do now because we've invented computer vision. And I guess that's a way we ought to be thinking about technology in general or life in general. Right now in the United States, we're having a whole lot of people complain over one party or the other one. Usually they're complaining about the one they're not in, but many are complaining about the one they are in. And I like to think that it doesn't really matter which one of those factions wins, that in the end, first of all, I think a lot of the policies are very close. But in the end, whatever the policy is, we're going to have to figure out a way to live with that. And that sounds like somewhat negative, but I'm in a very positive. There's always more opportunity than there are problems. And so let's take a look at that. Boy, we didn't cover everything. Agriculture. Man, I should do a whole show. I think I will. We're going to do a whole show just about the things coming in agriculture, and we might even get some information from Spiral Carbon and the good work they're doing. Spiralcarbon.com, and they're just doing some phenomenal things in agriculture. I advise them. My bias is, yes, I like these guys, but yes, The work is fantastic, but that's another show. And of course, manufacturing, don't get me started on manufacturing. I think we've talked about that before. We'll have another show on that one. Man, it's eye-opening. This all started from a prompt of me looking at the ways that computer vision work and help explain some things to you. But I think in a broader sense, what we're saying is that the future is going to be better than the past, and the progress we want to make, we can decide what we want to make. We don't need to slow down or stop. There's still a lot of people who don't get a regular meal, don't have a safe place to live, or ability to travel where they need to go to. Drinking water, very important. Electricity. When we get that solved for everybody, we can start talking about whether or not we ought to slow down on some of these things. But I think we'll still say that the rapid growth as we come to learn what all this technology can do for us, going to be okay. Let's do what we need to do to make sure it doesn't kill us all. But in the meantime, let's all use it. And I hope you'll find something that'll make your life better and the life for the people around you a little bit better too.